Hello, property nomads. Hope you're doing well. The last month or so has been quite interesting, just economically, geopolitically. Just going to do a quick video to summarize what's been going on. Hopefully that might put you in good stead moving forward. As always, we should say that anything I say, it's not financial advice. It's not, it's for educational purposes. If you are going to make investment decisions, please do speak to the appropriate people. This content is for educational purposes only. So in the last month, we've seen an array of interesting things happen here in the UK. The funniest one probably is the hate crime bill that came into force in Scotland, ironically on April the 1st, which is April Fool's Day, getting my words incorrect. And that came into force in Scotland, and that's just been laughable, basically, since that's come in. Won't get into the pros and cons of such a daft piece of legislation or law, but it is what it is. That came in on the 1st of April. We've also seen economic data come out that is so-so, not great, but not the end of the world. I think people are trying to, or starting to wake up and realize that actually inflation is not going to go away anytime soon, that it might come back to bite us on the backside. Again, what normally happens with inflation is it will exist, or it will spike, then it will go down, and then it will spike again, possibly go down and spike again for a third time. It is possible. We've had a spike of inflation, so we've had wave number one. It's sort of receded somewhat, but I'm sure with everything that's going on in the world and government policies and whatnot, that it will spike again at some point. And this is where we've said on both the podcast and the YouTube channel, what you should look to do is study gold and silver, study true money, study assets. You should start preparing yourself. Well, maybe you're already prepared. If you're not, you should start preparing yourself for what's to come ahead. Well, what is to come ahead? As we just said, probably a second wave of inflation. We're looking at really a lot of draconian measures that people are looking to introduce. We're looking at cashless societies. Again, I'm saying that from a Western Europe point of view or a UK point of view. I appreciate that that's not the case in every country around the world. So I'm doing this from UK rose-tinted spectacles as such. There's a lot of drive towards cashless societies, to be as eco-friendly as possible, whilst of course destroying ourselves, which seems to be quite a thing that we want to do over here. At the moment, it's got to be electric this, electric that, and no oil, no gas, no coal, all of these bad things. And of course, at the same time, as I said, we are shooting ourselves in the foot because the government policies and things that we've done and things that we've implemented over the last 4 or 5 years are really starting to have a negative effect on people's lives. And that's not good. Government really should be there to look after its citizens and do best for the people that it represents, not just do what's right to line their own pockets. And that counts to whatever government's in charge at any given time. Moving on to property, moving on to mortgage markets, rates have gone up. And again, that's off the back of data that is not so great. People, I think, have started to wake up and smell the coffee, started to realize that, hang on a minute, rates aren't necessarily going to go down anytime soon. In fact, I said at the start of the year they will go up. I'm adamant that they will. But a lot of people said, well, they've got to come down and X, Y, and Z. Well, I think people are waking up to the reality that that's not going to be the case. Inflation's here to stay. We might get something called stagflation, creep its ugly head. And all of that may or may not happen, I don't know. Or certainly the mainstream media believes that rates will less likely to come down now. I believe they'll go the other way and they will go up because we need some normality back into the markets. Now, you might be listening to this thinking, Rob, we're property nomads, let's get some extra property information in there. What I would say is that there's a lot of councils with a lot of issues at the moment, and a lot of them looking to sell off assets or land or even car parks. So from a property development and investment point of view, it might be prudent for you to reach out to your local council and have a chat with them or write to them. Try and get hold of the property department and see how you can help from a property investment point of view. That might not apply to every single council in the UK, but if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle, as they say. What's going to happen moving forwards? I just don't know. But we have always said, and we will always say, that you need to do your homework. So look at things such as true money, look at gold, look at silver. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. I'm not going to butcher the Mark Twain quote, but I'll paraphrase it with that. It does rhyme. It doesn't always repeat itself, but look what's happened before. Gold has been an excellent store of value over the last 4,000 or 5,000 years. Silver is quite an industrial metal. It's got a lot of uses, but it's more volatile than gold. Why would you even want gold and silver in the first place? Well, they're quite good geopolitical hedges. If the currency system breaks down, the one that we have at the moment, and things get pegged back to gold, for example, what do you think is going to happen to the, not just the price, but the value of gold? It's likely going to go through the roof. Now, I don't know that that will happen, that there will be a currency that gets pegged back to gold or a new monetary financial system. I don't know that. That is my belief that will happen, but I've got no proof that that will happen. I don't know. All I know is that it might be prudent to look at such things and make decisions after you've spoken to the right people, etc., etc. Other assets could include land, could include things like water sources. Have you got land to I was going to say build food? You don't build food, do you? But you know what I mean, have livestock, etc., etc. Now, that might not be for everyone, but preparing is a very useful thing to do. Plan B, having a plan B is very, very useful too. Do you have a temporary residency of a different country? Do you have a second passport? If not, do you have the ability to get a second passport? Do you have lineage, heritage that you can tap into that you can exploit in order to get a second passport? Because it's always better to be prepared than not be prepared. We seem to be hell-bent on starting World War III. You could argue it's already started. Why do I say that? Well, look at even ourselves. We want to increase our defence budget up to 2.5% of GDP. Well, that's double inflationary because that's going to involve printing a lot of currency in order to get there in the first place. Everyone seems to want to fund Ukraine in order to fight this daft war against big bad Russia, who actually aren't that bad because it's NATO and the USA that are the main antagonists of this. The UK as well. We're probably at the forefront of all of this without even realizing, because we're not told these things in our media. So the odds of having a global conflict are increasing. And if that were to happen, and I don't know, they brought back conscription, you're probably screwed. Unless you've got plan B where you can just jump on a plane and go, au revoir, I'm off to country X because I've got my second passport or I've got my residency in place and I can just go over there. Now, I don't say that lightly, and I've been lambasted before by saying, well, you know, World War III and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't say that lightheartedly, and I wish that doesn't happen. But again, I look at history. I love history. I look at what's happened before and how things have started. And everything we're doing at the moment is hallmarks of basically preparing for a war economy. Even the Prime Minister came out and said it when asked about the defence budget and increasing it. He said we need to be put on a war footing or something along those lines. That tells you everything you need to know. So it's going to be useful to have as much out of the mainstream system as you can. And again, we'll go back and say it's prudent to look at gold, it's prudent to look at silver, land, and an asset base that is outside the big system. So you should look to do that. And again, please don't just take my talkings. Please do get the necessary financial advice that you need or you want in order to make decisions that will work for you. This is just for educational purposes only, and we've always put pride in our work to open the eyes of people to say, look, we can see this coming. This is going to happen at some point. Even a broken clock is correct twice a day. And we understand that we're in a minority when we talk about these subjects and we talk about these issues. All we can do is report what we see and what we believe is right. And, there's a lot of joy that comes out of doing these videos. We're here to do what we can to help as many people as we can because of what we believe we can see coming down the road. So very interesting April, very interesting month. I'm sure I'm going to be using that phrase a lot moving forward. And there's going to be a lot of practical advice, even more practical advice, both on the podcast and on this YouTube channel as well. So a small favor to ask, please do subscribe to the channel, like the channel as well, leave a comment in the comment section below, and share this with as many people as possible, because this message of what's happening, what is happening, what will happen is very, very prudent. And it's very now, and we're here to help as many people as we can, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. Again, subscribe, like, etc. That'd be great. See you in the next video.